for the Prime Minister's speech on the fact that there was a sick note culture. I don't see any evidence, Peter, I'm sorry. I really don't see any evidence. I've just given you 3 examples.
Quiet ones are the worst, they say, yeah. Now, did Labour Party MP Debbie Abrahams really expose the Tory sick note culture, Jibe, for what it is? Just more Tory culture wars. Now, this happened in the same Work and Pensions Committee meeting where Labour MP Neil Coyle was trying to get a straight answer out of the Secretary of State for Work and Pensions, Mel Stride, on national insurance on the 22nd of May 2024.
What I want to really drill down to is, again, what Selene was asking about the root causes of that, and to try and understand the basis, the evidence for the Prime Minister's speech on the fact that there was a sick note culture. What is the evidence that the Prime Minister, and I think you were in the front row of that of the audience of that speech, Secretary of State. So what is the evidence that you are using to make the statement that there is a sick note culture?
I think the evidence is that we have 10 million sick notes, that in 94 the way the system works is that on average there's a 7-minute appointment between the person and the GP, that in 94% of occasions the box is ticked that no work is possible under any circumstances. And it's evidence that has led us to a big investment in a big intervention around work well. So in a sense we put our money behind where we think the evidence lies. And I think it really is a case of trying to intervene to provide additional support, get the healthcare element in early, to get the work coach input alongside that, and therefore to be as helpful as possible in ensuring people don't then move further down that health journey into ultimately the discussions we're having around the WCN.
I'm conscious of my warning from the chairman, but that really is your solution to what you are describing as the evidence base. I held an event which was trying to examine the evidence around if there is a sick note culture. Camilla Hawthorne, Chair of the Royal College of GPs, attended that, and she was at a loss to understand why a statement like this had been made, a speech had been made like this. And some of the really offensive language in the speech, that there's a support of the welfare state, but it's for those who genuinely need it. Now, Professor Hawthorne was saying quite clearly that GPs aren't under pressure just to do a tick box, and that I think is a little bit insulting as well to the integrity, the professional integrity of GPs who spent 7 years of their lives training that, plus the specialism of becoming a general practitioner. It's not about signing off people as an easy option. These are people who are genuinely in need of their support and not to be in work at that time. Professor Sir Michael Marmot, also at the event, a long-standing, internationally reputable epidemiologist, has described over several years, but going back to 2017, about our declining life expectancy and our declining healthy life expectancy, how long we will live in good health. Current figures, according to the ONS, I don't know if you're aware of your own constituency figures around healthy life expectancy, but across England, 63 and 64 is an average. In my constituency in Oldham, 57 and 58, that's for men and women. In your constituency, Secretary of State, it's 67 and 68, so 10-year difference. The actual inequalities between healthy life expectancy across deprived and most deprived and least deprived areas is 20 years. 20 years.
Yeah.
So this is the evidence base that seems to be completely at odds with the understanding and then the policy interventions that are meant to address it. If we're looking at the root causes, Helen Barnard from the Trussell Trust was also at the event. 7 in 10 users of food banks are people who are sick and disabled. Mind provided some evidence last night. 2 million people with mental health problems on the waiting list in the department. We started the session today around the EHRC having to escalate their work because of a failure to reach an agreement over 2 years of the issues that had been raised with them, and have had to publish that. And that's on top of the UN committee publishing their report again around breaches in the rights of disabled, including their right to work. So the evidence base I would put to you, Secretary, is very different. But can I ask you? I've asked you this a number of times about the assessment that you've undertaken on the impact that this is having, this rhetoric and these inappropriate policy interventions, which are driven, again, all the evidence is showing about the poverty and inequality that our country is facing, record levels of poverty and inequality, and the impact that this is having on the increase in long-term sickness and ill health. What assessment have you made about how these policies are actually going to add to that sickness and disability, and potentially, as we have seen over the last few months, result in additional deaths of vulnerable social security claimants?
Well, Debbie, thank you for that. There was a lot there, and I will try and cover it. And I know that we've met to discuss various issues, and I do take your questions seriously and in the spirit that they're asked. I think to suggest, though, that I think you said signing people off as an easy option is what I'm saying about GPs are not. The point that I was making was that they understandably, and I did say they do a fantastic job in the comments that I've just made, the point is that they have very little time, and what they don't have and what Workwell does have is firstly the ability to spend far more time with the individual, and secondly to look at all those kind of issues that I won't repeat them, that we've discussed around getting into work. And
very comprehensively to others about Workwell. My point is that in spite of what the Prime Minister said about valuing social security, we've seen 14 billion cut out of working age support for people on low incomes or who are unable to. That has resulted in an increase in poverty, destitution, and the resulting inequality. It has increased the issues around healthy life expectancy. So I've given contrast between your constituency and my constituency in a more deprived area. So the policy intervention that you're suggesting around Workwell is just a sticking plaster. It's not dealing with the real issues that we're facing, both in terms of ensuring that we have a healthy workforce, which, again, the north and south, because of if we equated the health in the north to the health of the south, we know that productivity would increase by over 13 billion a year. We've got the wrong policy solutions. It's just a sticking plaster. But my real concern, Secretary of State, Naz Anderson, a prevention of future deaths notice has been issued by the coroner back in February because of concerns about the circumstances of her death as a vulnerable social security claimant. Kevin Gale, also a prevention of future deaths notice. There's another inquest that you're waiting on in relation. These are the consequences of a failing social security system. And this isn't personal, this is about, we've got to get the policy interventions right, and they're not. They're absolutely not. So again, can you give me some assurance that you are going to be a learning organisation? I don't see any evidence, Peter, I'm sorry. I really don't see any evidence. I've just given you 3 examples of when the coroner has said the DWP still hasn't got it. I think that's the eighth that we've had in the last 8-9 years. So I'm not reassured. I'm sorry. I'm really not reassured. And I'm just hoping that the HRC investigation will try and put some light on that.
I'm not reassured either, Debbie, so you're not the only one. And as someone who had to fight tooth and nail for everything I needed, and it took me and my wife over 2 years to get it, with having to go for mandatory reconsiderations, and after failing that because I was able to turn on a DAB radio and I can sit down and read a book after my emergency spinal operation, and I've now severe nerve damage, I was deemed fit for work. I had to take them to a tribunal to get what I was rightfully deserved and needed. Also, one night I collapsed and really hurt my back. I went to the doctor about it, got some painkillers and a week's sick note. My wife took it into the job centre and they refused it. So yeah, I'm not reassured either. But what do you guys think? Let me know down below and I shall bid you farewell and take care, my friends.